and I feel honored to welcome our next speaker, Mr. Arnab Guha, food technologist and founder, director, and chief visionary officer of Impeccable Innovations Private Limited. A total of more than 15 years of work experience in departments like manufacturing, research and development, corporate manufacturing, and innovation scale up. He has also been associated with multiple prestigious brands like Heinz, Britannia, and biotech industries Novozymes, where he worked lastly as a senior enzyme application scientist. He is also inventor in 5 patents application. He is currently doing research on GFCFSF diets for kids with autism and therapeutic solutions for COVID-19. On behalf of AIFT team, I welcome you, sir, to kindly address our participants. Thank you, and over to you.
Yeah, so the topic for today is GFCFSF diet for kids with autism. And the full form of this is gluten-free, casein-free, and soya-free. Is it visible on the top right end of the screen, or because our face are coming on the right side of the...
No, sir, you can look like just to the middle of your presentation because it's appearing.
It's appearing. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. So few disclaimers. Through this presentation, we are not denigrating any of the industry, whether it's a wheat industry or the dairy industry. We are also not giving any medical recommendation or prescribing any certain diet. This presentation is mainly for the researchers, people, and the parents of autism with autistic kids, that these type of the knowledge which is there in the public domain should be understood well, and it should be explored further. So nowhere in this presentation we are prescribing any particular thing to the children with autism. It's only just a nudge to them. So the outline of this presentation, we will introduce what is autism. Maybe autism is quite a new topic to many of the viewers in this presentation. We'll talk some of the statistics and trends, because when we are talking about science, it should be data based. Then how the government is supporting this community, and what exactly it is GFCFSF, what's the literature survey, and what's the testimonials that we have seen, and we'll touch base about some of the things of our SPORTIFY brand. And SPORTIFY brand is our own brand for which we are manufacturing some of the gluten-free multigrain attas or the flours. So autism spectrum disorder, short form is ASD. It refers to a broad range of neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behavior, speech, and non-verbal communication. If you see on the picture, so there will be, you can see that how a child with autism behaves differently from a general child, basically. And one of the starking features of a child with autism is the non-eye contact. It is very much prevalent in almost most of the autistic kids, and this should be the marker. Usually the autism is not diagnosed, or the parent is not able to understand whether the child is normal or having autism, most probably before the age of 2.5 to 3 years, because by that time they observe that their child has missed some of the developmental milestone, and that's when they go to the special educator or they go to the doctors, who then diagnose the child, and they also try to understand what is the level of autism, what type of autism, and various aspects, and that's how the things move. So as I'm saying, autism is not one disorder. It's a spectrum of disorder with different types. Almost 15, 16 types are there. And the idea of this presentation, especially for the food tech students, is not to give each and every definition of the different spectrum, but the idea is to make you aware that there are many nuances in just autism. Like when we say diabetes, diabetes is mainly of two type, type 1 and type 2. Now type 2.5 is also coming, or type 1.5 is also coming. So while in autism, it's a spectrum. When I'm saying 15, 16, so there are different nuances. And also there is no blood diagnostic by which you check the blood level for some parameter and you say, no, this person has ADHD. The other person has dyslexia, the other person has ADD. So it's not like that. There is no uh, pathological diagnostic thing which can define which condition is there. It's mainly the skilled person in art who is a autism specialist and an educator. He is able to certify which type of autism the child is having. They may have different types of IQ level, from extremely sharp to an average IQ to a low IQ level. So it's basically, autism is basically with respect to their social interaction difficulties. Okay. By the face value, you may not be able to understand whether a particular child is autistic or not autistic. So let us talk about how the stats looks like. So in India, there are 18 million people in India who have autism. This is as per the very recent article on the same. And why it is very important to see the US stats is because the autism as a priority, they have been doing a lot of research. They have funded a lot of research work related to autism. So that's why their data is even more concrete than the data what we see in India. So it is better that we try to infer or try to understand some of the data which US presents. And in case of India, as per some of the report, it may be 1 in 55 to 60 child in India is having some symptoms of autism or delayed development. So with respect to the particular slide, what I can say that in 1970, in US, 1 in 10,000 child was autistic. With decades passing on, by 2000, 1 in 150 child in US, they found that they are autistic. Now, last 5 years ago in 2016, as per their understanding, they are showing 1 in 54 child is autistic. So by 2021, this ratio may have further came down to, let's say, 1 in every 50 child in US is autistic. So this is a very steep curve and very it is having a very great social relevance, and it is very very dangerous. What I can say that if the same thing is happening in India, so that means there is a great chance that it will be a severe disorder tomorrow, which the government also have to declare. So 1 in 54 in 2016 in US, the ratio that it is. And when you say that the lifetime social cost of autism in US, it is projected to be a cost of $15 trillion. That's a huge cost for a country to bear. So unless we are able to understand why autism is increasing, what are the causes of autism, what are the symptoms of autism, what are the probable treatments of autism, this will be a huge burden to the world. We also see from the stats that almost 95% of the child with autism, they have around 4 to 5 co-occurring conditions of autism. It's not a one-way traffic. They will have 4 or 5 different complications or the mannerisms in their behavior. And we also see that 40 times more likely to die from preventable injuries. Because what happens is, I'll give you one example, like like a child with autism who is not yet groomed. Okay, the child will not even understand that you have to give some money to a shopkeeper to buy some item from a shop. So they don't have this understanding or awareness of this social currency need to be done, need to be exchanged in order to have a proper routine life. So what this data also shows that 40% of the child is having anxiety, around 40 will have seizures, and more than 50% will have sleep issues. For around 50%, 49%, they wander about. Their life expectancy is less than a person without autism. Drastically less. If you see the figure, what they have given, it is around 36, while the life expectancy of a normal person is around 72. So this is a very significant change. Another thing is they will have around 4 times more likely to suffer from gastric issues. Okay, when they come to a job world, they are not paid well, and even they find it very difficult to come into the mainstream workforce. And also what we have seen that the children with autism, 40% they have a non-speaking, they are non-verbal. So this is extremely important, that suddenly the child becomes non-verbal, or the child till the age of 6 is totally non-verbal, is not even speaking anything. So when the child is not able to speak anything, the parent is not able to understand what the child needs, is not able, the communication does not happen, and the parent are left with lot of searching questions. And obviously there are different adult housing stats are there. So why I was showing the stats is to understand that if these things are there in US, India may not be far behind to the stats, maybe even worse than US. But proper data of this type of data has not been done on a mass scale in India. When we see the Google trends, okay, it's very interesting, which I'll show it to you, that these are the term which people were searching, the COVID-19, which we are all in the pandemic. When the people are searching COVID-19 in Google, you see all the sharp trends. There we see 3 peaks already. However, we are now speculating that we will all go to the 3rd wave, and maybe by October or September, I don't know. The 2nd wave is subsiding, definitely. But what Google Trend gives the data is what people are searching. People will not search anything in internet which is totally irrelevant to them. They will search in internet some terms, some questions which they want an answer. So when people are searching COVID-19, these are the peaks. And when you go to the next slide, when you see the ratio of the COVID-19 term search to gluten-free search, the gluten-free is almost negligible as compared to people who are searching COVID-19. The same way, when people are searching COVID-19 in the red mark, the blue mark, that is the blue line of autism, is almost very negligible. But when people are searching these terms, autism treatment, autism diagnosis, autism child, autism diet, there we see the term autism is much more relevant to people as compared to the other terms. And when people search the term autism diet versus, let's say, the yellow mark, the autism child, people are still searching more towards the rehabilitation of the child. But the diet focus, which is in the purple line, is quite low as compared to the other line. So it definitely shows the mindset of people that maybe people are not yet giving more priority towards diet. When you are in India, we see the trend that Indians are more or less typing autism in India more than autism in US. But when you are in US, you see that people in US, they are searching the term autism India and autism US almost equally, what I feel. So what it shows that people in US, they are also trying to understand how the autism is how the prevalence of autism is there in India and what are the things going on in India with respect to autism. In Google Trends, what we also see that across various states, which is the highest states which are searching for autism, that is Mizoram. And compared to Mizoram, let's say a state like Delhi is in the 13th position. A state like Karnataka is in the 13th position. So that means maybe in Mizoram, people are searching more with respect to autism. Maybe the cases of autism is much more in this particular state. People want to know more. So that definitely gives an idea that where you will find more incidents of autism. And when you search this combined term of autism plus GFCFSF diet in Google, you will get 1.96 million results in less than a second. So that means people have made content or websites or videos, articles, etc., which definitely show the term autism and GFCF diet. 1.96 million results is not a joke. It's not a new thing. Definitely the whole world is talking or trying to understand, the scientific fraternity is trying to understand about these things. So how the government is working on. So if you go to the website of the National Trust, you will see a page on disability. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment handles the sector with respect to autism. So you can definitely visit this website. You can also visit this website of National Health Portal, nhp.gov.in. You will get some of the articles which they have written, some of the contents which they have written. But unfortunately, what we see that this particular web page was updated almost 6 years ago. So that's not a good sign. And I hope government people, officials who are custodian of this particular web page, they update all these facts and figures and also the contents. We also see that in another web page where they are talking about World Autism Awareness Day, that was on April 2nd. So it was also means updated in 2019, so 2 years ago. So these are not that good sign, and it definitely reflects the thing that the priority with respect to the community of autistic children and adults and the parents of these people, they should be given more priority. They should now come into the mainstream healthcare challenges section. Unless the government focus on these people, and also the parents have to be even more forthright in asking for what are the special opportunities or the special things which the government are supposed to do for the neurodiverse children. Now, let us see when all this thing started. What it shows that autism was coined in 1911, so almost 110 years ago. So it's not a new thing. It's not a white man disease. It's not a white man disorder. It has been there, or it has been recognized more than 100 years ago. But still, if you see, we are not even scratching the tip of the iceberg. Lot of things we need to do because if we, so one of the point which I forgot to tell you in the first slide, that our brain develops almost 90% of our brain develops by the age of 5, and almost 100% of the brain develops by the age of 8. If a parent is not able to understand whether the child is normal or having autistic character by the age of, let's say, 2 to 3, if they miss this mark, let's say if they recognize that after 10 years of age that their child is autistic, then it is very difficult to revive their normal behavioral pattern. Okay, unless you do early interventions, it is very difficult, even with GFCFSF diet, to improve their conditions. And it's not the fault of the parent. It's just that this awareness of autism versus a normal child is quite, it's almost in a rudimentary state in India. So it is very important that as soon as possible you understand, or your child get diagnosed with autistic character or delayed developmental disorders, then lot of early interventions including diet need to be done. Otherwise you will have very less time to do some major improvements. But in that sense, I am also not saying that nothing can be done after the age of 8 if you have not done any early interventions. It's just that it will take much more longer time for an improvement to be seen. Okay, so these are some of the literature, what they are saying about the gluten-free, casein-free diet. And basically the GFCF diet came first, maybe in the 1980s. Okay, and through that the GFCF SF diet came. So what also this literature shows that in 1960s people were trying to understand schizophrenia, trying to understand how the gluten and the casein protein of the milk they interact. What are the problems? What are the mechanistic understanding? What they are able to understand? So these are some things from 1960s to 1990s. Things are evolving, but at a very slow pace, and that is mainly because there is not enough funding for this sector, for the scientists of this sector or the ministry of this sector. The funding is very low. So unless there is more funding, people cannot invest their time to understand, to revive this sector. So it's very important that the government and the public, they work together and they work with the ministry and to ask for more funding so that more scientists, like today what we have seen in COVID-19, like within 1 year or so, we have got at least the vaccines, which is almost unheard of. Usually the vaccine development will take more than 5 years or something. But yes, we have seen that when you put all your effort, all your money, all your brain into one target, you will be able to really make a dent on the issue. Another thing, so in autism, okay, when we are talking about scientific trials, clinical trials, there are different types of clinical trials, whether it is a randomized control trial, whether it is a double blind, or whether it's a placebo oriented. But what I feel after undergoing all this, the basic thing, what need to be done first is having a very small cohort and understanding each subset of autism. In this case, RCT, the randomized control trial, may not help. You need to see what one or two case studies, how the things are moving, because it is very difficult to get a proper data with autistic children. Very difficult. Okay, so it is very important that first we have to understand small subset. And this is my personal understanding after being in this food industry for more than 20 years and 15 years in this industry. What I understand is in science, there is nothing as by chance. By chance कुछ नहीं होता. शायद हो सकता है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. There is always a reason for something. Even when we see in the COVID situation, if there are severe complications happening to hardly some 0.0001% of the people who are taking vaccine, people have to dig down deep why a particular vaccine had given certain adverse reaction. Okay, because unless we understand that aspect, we will not be able to enhance our knowledge. So same way it goes to the GFCFSF diet for the autistic children. So in this particular literature, which was published in 1999, okay, here what they have done is a dietary intervention for a 7-year-old girl with autistic behavior. Read this carefully. For one girl, it's not like 10,000 people. You don't need 10,000 people to understand a particular first base of the mechanistic understanding. You need 10,000 people as a cohort, or 1,000 people as a cohort to prove it finally. But what to prove it? First, when you have to base your hypothesis, it has to be a small cohort where you see certain observations. So in this, what they are telling is a 7-year-old girl with autistic behavior who benefited from a diet without gluten and casein is described in this report. Okay, that is very important. The 7-year-old girl with autistic behavior benefited from a diet without gluten and casein. And this has been described here. Over the period of 2 years, the girl changed from being severely withdrawn to a normally communicating child who enjoys the company of child. So it had taken more than 2 years to see an improvement. And it is not a magic pill. In certain case, you may see some improvement in weeks' time, in few weeks' time. In certain case, you will see an improvement in few months' time. In certain case, you will see improvement in few years' time. But the thing is to have patience, to believe in. As I told you, diet is not the only magic pill. There are many other things which you also need to keep in check. So this is a literature which is related to autism and schizophrenia. It is again in 1999. What they're saying that we have followed 70 autistic children ingesting a gluten casein-free diet, for 1 to 8 years. Of these, 81% improved significantly by the 3rd month. So these are important markers. But there are various literature. I'll not go deep into each literature, but definitely there are various literature which is shouting that the parent need to have faith in the dietary improvements what the different dietitians who are related to the autistic field, they are telling. Okay, GFCFSF diet is not a medicine. It is just a food where you have eliminated some of the aspect, but just elimination will not work. You will work on what you are giving to the child in this restricted diet. Okay. With respect to the literature, so the question which comes is definitely on how the gluten and the casein and the soya is creating an issue. Okay, I'll come to this slide in this. What it shows that when a child with autism who is usually having a leaky gut, as you see, who is having a leaky gut, is eating these products, that is the products having the gluten protein, the soya protein, and the casein protein, they are not able to digest these protein to the amino acid level. So there is partial hydrolysis. And when there is partial hydrolysis of this protein, then the peptides, some of the peptides escape this leaky gut. And in this leaky gut, the epithelial cells are cemented by a protein called zonulin. And when there is a leakiness, then the zonulin or the cementic material, they are loosened, and these peptides go through the epithelium of it, and then it goes to the bloodstream. In the bloodstream, various immune response are given, and sometimes when this peptide is through the blood flow, they pass through the blood-brain barrier, that is the BBB. Then it may, these peptides acts like a morphine, a opioid. They have an opioid effect. And when these peptides, whether it is the casomorphin or the glidiomorphin, glidio is from the gluten. So whenever these type of hallucinating peptides go towards the brain, then it impairs the brain functioning. And usually the autistic child will have more leakiness in their gut as compared to a non-autistic child. The tight junctions are not that tight enough to hold. Otherwise, अगर उनका टाइट जंक्शंस टाइट होता तो ये पेप्टाइड बॉडी में ना एब्जॉर्ब होके स्टूल से निकल जाता, लेकिन ऐसा होता नहीं है इनमें. वो पेप्टाइड ब्लड में चला जाता है, ब्लड से फिर उसके ब्लड स्ट्रीम में चला जाता है, फिर इट पास थ्रू द ब्लड ब्रेन बैरियर और ब्रेन में जाके ब्रेन का फंक्शनिंग हैम्पर करता है. इसलिए हम बोलते हैं कि ट्राई अ स्ट्रिक्ट gluten-free, casein-free, and soya-free diet. Why the soya came last is because of the phenomena called molecular mimicry. What it says that basically that the molecule of the gluten is quite similar to the protein present in soya. It is also quite similar to the protein present in corn also. So, and even oats. So basically, if you can at least keep your child away from the gluten containing product or the milk, bovine milk containing product, the autistic child I'm saying, then, and the soya, then you will see an improvement. But as I told, this biomedical nutrition interventions through diet as well as in food supplements like anti-inflammatory, omega-3 fatty acids, and omega-6 fatty acids in a particular ratio. There are many other aspects of the vitamins and minerals which may not be that much in your regular diet. Then that's why you have to come up with dietary food supplements. Usually what happens is changing the diet pattern of a autistic child who is a very picky eater. They don't like, they have a strong preference or strong dislike to their usual diet pattern. So it is very difficult to bring a change, but by the time some change you as a parent you are able to do, try to do a food supplements you can give it to the child, maybe in form of a chewable lozenge type of thing, where vitamin D or vitamin C, all these all these vitamins, key vitamins and minerals, you can give it through food supplements, and slowly you change it. Another thing what we also have seen in various experts doing, that they are not changing the diet in one day, on day one itself. They are taking almost 5 to 10 weeks to totally shift a pattern, like first gluten or first casein, then they take out the gluten from the diet, then slowly, lastly, they take out the soya from the diet. So it's a gradual thing which the child is not able to decipher. He or she may not be able to understand that something has been slowly removed. Then you also have to give go to the proper therapist. They are experts in different speech therapy, then occupational therapy, then music therapy. Then there are various experts out there. You have to reach out to them. Then obviously, in certain severe cases, you will obviously require certain medicines to improve their hyperactivity, to improve their sleep patterns. And also what we say, along with GFCF diet, you should also decrease their monosaccharide consumption level, that is the plain sugar, because more you give the plain sugar in their diet, they become hyperactive because their body will now have lot of free energy. So where they will invest their energies by running here and there, being extremely hyperactive in their mannerisms. But not every child with autism is free. They have different types of reversal mechanisms. So, and even if you are able to manage these three properly, but if you're neglecting the environment in which the child is there, then even all these three will not work. So see, there are multiple factors which as a parent you need to do, you need to keep in mind. And as a food expert, you also have to understand that if some of your aspects is not working, then you have to go deep with maybe some of your colleagues of a psychiatrist or a psychologist or the occupational therapist, that where is the lacking, okay? As a resource, you can also see a lot of books which are written on autism. I have here given some of the snapshots, but almost there are 4 times than these books. And when you write a book, what it also shows that when you write a book, it's not like it's just a 1-pager or 2-pager. People have written all these books through their experience. Some of them are parent of autistic children. Some of them are experts. Some of them are doctors. So when people are writing a 200, 300-pager book, they have seen some improvement. That's why they are investing their time and energy. They're writing all their experiences through this book. And it is a testimony that definitely the diet plays a big role. So when you go to YouTube, you see a lot of videos related to the GFCFSF diet or GFCF diet. And some of them are having views of 71,000 views, okay? Means so many views have been, these videos have garnered so many views. And in the below comments, you will see people who have got benefited out of these diets. They have written their stories. I share some of them, and I'll not read all of them, but definitely these are very interesting to see that the bottom comment, it's also a comment, it's also a testimony, like changing diet worked well for my son. 10 years ago, we put him on a strict gluten-free, casein-free diet and saw improvement in a few months. Over time, we have also gotten rid of artificial food colorings, artificial flavors, artificial preservatives and pesticides. Means they have gone towards the organic aspects. And in our home, we avoid artificial perfumes and all. What also we have seen that people, the whole family shifts towards the GFCFSF diet. And it is not difficult. It's just that the whole family is resolute to the fact that they have to keep the child, they have to make the child more responsible, they have to make the child so that they are not facing difficulties when they go towards adulthood. So that's why the family change. Even in my case, so in an important aspect, what I can share here is my own brother, younger brother. He is currently 33-year-old. He's working in Union Bank of India in Delhi, and he's having cerebral palsy from birth. So cerebral palsy is different from autism, but definitely it comes under the differently abled section. He is spastic and quadriplegic. So in our case also, the whole family, when we were young, our parents have really worked hard to take him from almost a zero situation to a hero situation. He had done his schooling initially from a special school, then in normal schools, and then he did his graduation from Delhi University in BCom, and finally he got the job through a national competition exam of the bank. And what it shows that definitely the whole family have to work towards. It's not just an option. It is something which is definitely required. And lastly, what I can say is when Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine," it was in 400 BC. He didn't have to face a challenge of ease of junk food ordering with a click of mobile button. Today, we all have an access to any type of food, nutritious or junk food. It's up to us whether we are following the junk pattern or a nutritious pattern. And all challenges, I understand as a parent, you will face a lot of challenges in adhering to nutritious GFCFSF diet. And these are all very difficult. But trust me, living with an untreated child with autism is even more difficult. It is even more difficult when the child becomes teen and walks nude. They don't feel like wearing clothes. So just imagine the situation, what can happen in future. When they are in teens, they are gaining strength. You will not be able to overpower them or control them. So what will happen in future? People are parents of autistic teen or adolescent. You can ask them how their journey has been, and they will say it has been a roller coaster ride. So if you are a parent of a young autistic child, please do interventions, because if you delay, if you don't do at all, then it is very difficult thing. And trust people or the experts in this field. Coming back to lastly on our products, we have 4 different variants: Begins, High Protein, Selkie, Ethos. I'll not go deep into it, but definitely what I can say is these are nutritious, multigrain. And for the autistic, we basically recommend the first 3: Begins, High Protein, and Selkie. The Ethos can also be given, but it has a slightly lower amount of fiber. This is mainly for the chronic patients or people who need lesser fiber. Okay, but definitely we have seen some of our consumers who are having autistic child. One thing what I've understood from the parents is they are finding it very difficult to manage the household, because some of them are living with a joint family and there is very little control on what their other family members are giving the food to the child. many of them, they are not able to understand that even a small piece of gluten can play a big role in their fallouts. And that's why I always say maintaining a GFCF diet is much more easier than having a untreated child when they are in the adolescent age. This is our team. I'm a food scientist by qualification, by food technology. I worked in a few food companies like Britannia and Heinz, and also been a part of a biotech company like Novozymes. My co-founder, Mr. Gautam Guha, he has worked in bank, and also he has been in the agriculture sector. And then we have in the marketing side, Mr. Vadman Thegi. He is taking care of the sales and marketing. Through our team, what we are trying to see is, using our technical and commercial skill, can we make a difference to India? Our mentors, Dr. Suman Saraf from Manav Autism Foundation, Dr. Asna Uruj, and Mrs. Mini Divedi. Dr. Asna Uruj is from University of Mysore. We have done some work with her on autistic kids. Mini Divedi, she runs a Play Street organization in Bangalore, Whitefield. And all of them are attached to the autism sector. And you can see some of their videos in our YouTube channel of Spotify. So do visit our YouTube channel, and as well as in our website. You will get a lot of resource. You will understand. And lastly, what I can say is, so what you have to now judge here is whether the last half an hour or so, what I was marketing our Spotify gluten-free brand, was I marketing autism? Was I marketing GFCFSF diet for kids with autism? Or I was marketing an awareness of autism? It's up to you. So I rest my case. And thanks for listening to all the things that I have to say. And I'm very passionate about making a difference. And we are just beginning. So we need your support. We need support from various colleges so that they bring this type of research in their mainstream. They can adopt the district wherever this college is, adopt the district, understand the autistic community in that particular district, and then through some funding, garner some funding from the government, and then they do some research. This is the best thing as a food technologist, as a food scientist, we can do for the mankind. Okay, thanks everyone for listening to us. Now over to the organizers.
Thank you, sir. And because myself, I have done my PhD having a child with autism. So I studied generally the psychological well-being of the parents. So while I was collecting data, I have came through this, that how the diet helps in treating a child with autism. But I always wondered that how it actually correlated. But with your presentation, I have now understood that how it physiologically actually food is correlated with treating with autism. Thank you. And I would like to now invite Dr. Monica Thakur to offer the vote of thanks and take the questions. Sorry. Participants, if you have any questions, please post your questions. So
that's correct for people to understand, because this is a very new topic for a general food technologist. So yes, this is a new science that I hope in future people, they read more about that. This becomes a part of their mainstream course curriculum, because things are being done in the US, but not in India.
So there is one question: how to identify if a 2-year-old child needs intervention? Because already at this stage, they are hyperactive and learning different things.
So one of the medical marker can be, if you check their yeast and mold count in their blood, you check heavy metal count in their blood. So if the count is higher than the normal, so that means their gut is extremely leaky. And then the further you have to take the child to the autistic expert. Usually the autistic expert, those who finally certify whether a child is autistic or not, they usually tell the parent that you wait till the age of 2.5 years and see the patterns, if it's subsiding or if it is there. So till the age of 2.5 years, it is very difficult to finally certify a child as autistic. Another thing which is very worrisome in India, I can say, madam, is the difference of autistic incidents in rural India and in urban India. And we don't know whether the incidence is much higher in rural India or not. When I was in school, I can clearly remember in 90s when I was in school that some of the children in our class were not getting good marks at all, even in the class 1, 2, 3, the primary class. So when a child is not getting good marks in the primary, maybe till class 1 to 3, that means the child is not able to understand in class. So that means there is a communication gap. So it is a great marker, like in a class of 40 or 50 child in the primary class, if some child is really not doing well in all the subjects, that parent of that child, they should take the child for a diagnosis rather than just saying that no, मेरे child को हो ही नहीं सकता autism, हमारे family में किसी को autism नहीं है. So rather than having this type of notion, the parent need to be, they should err on the side of precaution rather than being stubborn. And these are some of the things what I can say to your question.
Thank you, sir. Renu ma'am, Monica ma'am, can you see some questions? Because at my end, there's only one question.
No, not at my end also. But Dr. Arnab, you very rightly said, because it's very difficult as a parent to understand that thing and to accept that yes, my child is autistic. So that is a very big, it's a challenging job. Means they think that yes, my kid is very hyperactive. So they have different kind of notions, but they don't believe that fact that yes, definitely he's having some type, some type of autism or some other different kind of things. So it's very difficult for it. As a parent, it's very difficult.
Yeah, and also we have seen, I can tell that we are selling this gluten-free atta in our brand of Spotify. Many parents, they start the gluten-free. We tell them what need to be done, what need not be done, what are the things they need to observe. But within 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, when they don't see a major improvement, okay, then they stop the things. And when they again, after 4 or 5 months, they see some of our videos, then they again start, and then they again stop. Yes. What I can say is all these therapies, diets, environmental change, behavioral changes, these are not like a paracetamol. If you get a fever, you take paracetamol, fever will go. It is a long drawn process. You have to carefully look for the leaky gut improvement. The more you strengthen the gut area, because as we all know that 90% of the serotonin is being made by our gut.
Yes.
Okay, and 70% of the total immunity resides in our gut. So if the serotonin type of neurotransmitter, if the immunity, innate immunity resides in our gut, how can we neglect gut? And it is not just for the autistic fraternity, it is even for people suffering from COVID. Why India or world over people are suffering from COVID and they are going towards severe, moderate to severe cases? It's not just that they are totally neglecting the first 5 to 7 days. And obviously that's a factor, but definitely everyone's gut is compromised. And it's not the issue that and why it is also happening, what we have also seen, that almost 30% of the autistic kids are intolerant to gluten, just to gluten. And it is a effect like in case of a celiac. So beyond the gluten allergy or the gluten intolerance, there is also level called celiac disease. So in that, if you have the genes of celiac, then one day or the other, when the gene get triggered, it will trigger all these reactions. And this is a genetic autoimmune disease. 30% of the Indians have these genes, but only 1% of the people get expressed to celiac disease. Almost 10% of the people, they don't know they're already in that zone. They keep on eating the gluten, and after some time they will end up into a severe issues like diabetes, cancer, or any other gastric issues. So my message to the society, including the academia as well as to the parents, is be conscious about your body, be conscious about your child, and think food is extremely important. At least now in India, people are at least aware organic hota hai food, non-organic hota hai. Lot of autism is also caused by heavy intake of the pesticides through the foods. Okay.
Very right, yes.
So these are some of the things, and I hope Amity really takes some lead. This is our second workshop on this subject, and I hope Amity do some project work in the Noida area at least, and try to understand if you guys can help people around Noida.
Yes, actually we were planning also, because we were having one this thing DST sanction project that is on the lactating mothers. So there's actually the second project which we are planning, it's in pipeline, that we want to work upon the autistic child. And when we go the nearby location of Amity University, nearby sector 125. So we really see many autistic kids, and people don't have idea that really their kid is autistic or that kind of thing. So certainly we can work together, we can collaborate in that kind of thing. So definitely we'll discuss and we'll do some things. Yes.
And one more point, ma'am, before I finally say bye to you guys, is in India, there are more than 150 autistic centers. 150 autistic centers across India. Many of them are using their centers just as a creche. That means, as I'm talking about pre-pandemic time, matlab, the parents are working, the mother and father is working, they deposit the child in that center, or dopahr ko ya sham ko they pick it up. But in that center, the center is not adhering to a particular nutritious diet. They are not into the elimination diet. Plus, they also don't do proper therapies to these children. So what happens is the development of the child is impaired. Parents को क्या है कि उनको चाहिए अपना बच्चा सही सलामत, मतलब without any injuries. They are picking at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock. That's it. But they miss out on the things that before the age of 8, all these interventions need to be done. वरना गाड़ी छूट जाएगी, वरना it will be too late to do major interventions that I've already spoken about. Thanks, thank you, thanks everyone for listening to us.
The last thing about you, you're doing a very noble work, and that too with a scientific background, because actually means many people do noble work, but they don't do it with that scientific background. So you're doing everything with a scientific approach. So I think when you give different lectures to different parents or different participants or other different delegates, so at that point of time, I think they'll be more accepting those kind of things, because everything is having the scientific background.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll keep working on the same lines.
Yes, definitely we'll do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, can we go for the assessment section and then vote of
Dr.
thanks?
Sinan, you please post the assessment and then we can have vote of thanks.
Okay. Dr. Ankit, I think he's there in the panelist. Can you post the link for the assessment? And again, participants, I would like to actually tell you once again that this time we'll not be getting the assessment through mails. It was for only day 2 and 3. Okay, so sir has posted the link. Please everyone check in the chat box section.
There is one more announcement. If any student is having any problem in previous assessments, I think we have seen in the morning session too many messages regarding assessment. So kindly send your queries by email. We'll be definitely responding to that. Don't worry about that also. But now assessment will only be done in the session itself, not through emails. But still, you have any query regarding the previous assessment 1 and 2, so you can write to us in the email address by which we are interacting with you. Yes.
Sir, what's the time limit? By what time everyone has to submit?
By 5:30. So we have given plenty of time today, because otherwise they're different. Again, the participants start giving the messages. So we have given the limit till 5:30. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
So Dr. Monica, yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
can we go for vote of thanks, because Ms. Ankita has to leave.
Good evening, one and all. On the behalf of Amity Institute of Food Technology, it is my proud privilege to propose the vote of thanks. On the 6th day of this workshop on innovation and sustainability in food processing, first I would like to thank the eminent speakers of the day, Dr. Wajid, Dr. Arnab and Ms. Sankita, for making excellent presentations. The topics were really very interesting and informative. And all the three the speakers, they really made great presentations. A special thanks to respected founder president sir, respected chancellor sir, for keeping us motivated and just to organize such different kind of events for all the students and the people belonging to the academia. A special mention to VC ma'am, Silvamurthy sir, Nutan Kaushik ma'am, for the moral support and guidance. Special thanks to all the participants for giving this, for joining this event. I know everyone is very busy with the examination schedule and with other different work. The participants who are from the faculty fraternity, but still they join our session, join our workshop and make this a successful one. And then last but not the least, heartwarming thanks to our director, Sir Dr. V.K. Modi, my worthy colleagues and staff members, and special mention to IT team, because they always help us from morning till evening. They are with us. And thank you once again. Have a nice day. Thank you. Yes,
One or two participants have mentioned that they are not able to open the link.
Ma'am, I have posted the link once again. I think you also have posted the link. Participants, we have posted the link once again. Please go through the chat box.
Participants, please don't worry. If any problem is there, please write in the chat box so that we can solve the query here itself.
Getting any
email address?
Ma'am, email address also I have dropped. I have dropped the email address. I'll once again do it.
And ma'am, I'm receiving the responses of the participants.
Okay, sir. So participant, the link is working. Dr. Dayal has also started receiving the responses.
Dr. Sunil, please
yes,
post it for everyone.
Okay, ma'am. I have posted to everyone. Please, participants, check. And if you're getting any message while clicking, you need to click on the continue button, and it will start working.
Anjali Tuli, she wants the email address. Email address, please put it for everyone.
I am dropping the email address again and again.
No, even I am not able to see. Please post it to everyone.
Email address is available to everyone. Yes.
I've changed the setting. Actually, I think there was some setting.
Yes. So participants, please don't worry about that. So if any kind of problem you have, any kind of issue you face regarding assessment or like your attendance, so please write to us in this email address.
Yes, Dr. Monica, there are two questions for Arnab sir. Has he gone?
Yes, I think he left the session.
Yes.
So if there is question, so I can take him on the line.
Yeah, if you can.
Shall I invite him again?
There is a question, is there any case or study showing that only gluten restriction has shown improvement?
Means I can throw some light on this part, because earlier also, I think 2 months back also, we were having one workshop with Dr. Arnab. So he showed different case studies there that many kids, when their diet was changed with with gluten-free, that SPORTIFY atta which they are giving. So with this, the level of autism was decreased. It was reduced. And I think he has some tie-up with, I think he has also shown in his presentation. 3 tie-ups are there. So there, that gluten-free atta, that Spotify, this thing, atta was given to those kids, and then they check this thing after 4 months, and the duration of 4 and 6 months, they check the level of autism, because there are different kind of tests for this autistic kids. So those tests were conducted, and it was proven that, scientifically proven that, yes, after consuming that gluten-free diet, the level of autism was decreased. And he's very supportive also, actually. Different means he's conducting many awareness campaigns, many awareness programs for such kids. So if you want his, I think, email address, so we can also share his email address. You can also directly write to him. He's very cooperative as well. So I'll be to all the attendees, I'll be giving his email address. If you directly want to contact him, you can. Give me 1 second. I'll be sharing that. So dear participants, I have mentioned Dr. Arnab Guha's email address in the chat box. It's given to all. You can also contact him directly. We are happy also, actually, all the participants. It's such an overwhelming response about this, because we have previously we were in a plan to organize this workshop, I think in the month of July, but then we preponed the workshop, and in very shorter span of time period. So we contact all of you, and then means such a overwhelming response about this workshop. You all participated, so thank you so much for that also.